Hi everyone. When you're writing your research question, it is very important for you to know the difference between a concept and a variable. The main difference between a concept and a variable is measurability. Concepts are mental images, like satisfaction. They are perceptions, and therefore their meanings differ from one individual to the other. So the meaning of satisfaction for one person will be very different from the meaning of satisfaction to another person. For example, a person's satisfaction with salary could mean that a one person A is satisfied with $1,000 a month and another person A is satisfied only with $10,000 a month. So this means that the word satisfaction or the term satisfaction becomes a concept, the meaning of which is different for different people. However, variables are measurable, though of course with varying degrees of accuracy depending upon the measurement scale used. On your screen that you see is a child trying to measure his height. So his height, if it is 4 feet, will be 4 feet for everyone who's measuring the height in feet. However, if it comes down to measuring the height in centimeters or inches, then of course, depending on the scale used, the height does differ. But the meaning or the interpretation of the height for that scale used remains the same for everyone. So if I say this child's height is 4 feet and we are all measuring the height in feet, the meaning of the height remains the same for all of us. It only changes when we use a different scale like centimeters, decimeters, inches, so on and so forth. A concept as such cannot be measured, whereas a variable can be subjected to measurement by crude or refined or subjective or objective units of measurement. For example, if we have a weighing scale, that weighing scale can measure the weight of a person. That weight of a person becomes very objective. So if I say person A weighs 60 kilograms, then to everybody's understanding, that person weighs 60 kilograms. If I say a person's income is $10,000 a month, that is the understanding for everyone. So if a person is earning $10,000 a month and we are all measuring our income in dollars, the meaning for all of us is the same. However, for concepts are subjective impressions, which if measured as such would cause problems in comparing responses obtained from different respondents. For example, measuring satisfaction or measuring effectiveness or measuring excellence or self-esteem. I can give you one example. If I say that someone is rich, what does rich mean? Do they have $1 million, $10 million, $100 million? How would you measure if someone is rich or not? So that becomes a concept unless we convert that concept into a variable, which I will teach you guys in my next video. So if you start looking at the examples here, it is important for you to know the basic difference between concept and variable. So if you include these terms in your research question, you should not be confused. So if you are trying to measure the effectiveness of earning high salary on the education of children, then you have to explain the meaning of effectiveness. It cannot be a concept because people will ask, what do you mean by effectiveness? So you have to give it a meaning. You have to convert it into a variable where you can measure the variable. For example, you have something called attitude. Now for you, attitude may be something that you cannot measure, but it can be measured if we assign a scale to it. So the degree of precision will vary from scale to scale. So for example, if you are trying to measure attitude, you can give it a scale like hopeful, somewhat hopeful, very hopeful, extremely hopeful, something like that. So if you give it a scale, then you can measure something like attitude. So efficiency, again, it has the same. Or if you say, I want to measure domestic violence. Now, what do you mean by domestic violence? What do you mean by extent and pattern of alcohol consumption? So for someone, alcohol consumption Or severe alcohol consumption could be even 1 glass of alcohol, whereas for someone else it could be 10 glasses of alcohol. But but variables like gender, which can be defined by male, female, or of course these days we have LGBTIQ, you can give it a scale. Age, you can give it a scale. Income, weight, height, you can give all these concepts or all these variables rather scales, and this becomes a variable. So you have to know the difference between a concept and a variable so that you can measure it, you can define it, you can explore the relationship between it, and and your research findings can then be discussed in a paper or in a thesis, and people will understand it. If you just introduced abstract concepts, the meaning of which is different for different person, and you don't define it or you don't explain how you are measuring it or what kind of scale you're using, then of course examiners or reviewers will ask you questions about what you mean by that. So another term that you can think of is value. Now if I say that I'm trying to investigate the value of postgraduate qualifications on employability, so when I say value, for me, the word value will differ for students. The word value will differ for employers, because the word value for students would be that it gives them recognition of their achievement. Whereas the word value for employers would be that can the person perform the job for which they have got the certificate. So it differs from employers to students. So you get the idea. So if you explain it, if you explain what the word value means and how you go about how will you go about measuring it, then of course it becomes a variable. So don't be restricted. Don't think that if you have words like efficiency or effectiveness or value that you cannot use them in the research question. You can, if you give it or if you convert it into a variable, give it a scale, and you can measure it, explore the relationship between it, then your job is done. I think you get the meaning. Thank you for watching, guys, and please subscribe, and I'll see you soon with my next video. Bye for now.